Okay. All right, so I'm going to get started. I'm sure more people will be popping in here. So welcome to the Energetics of Body Weight workshop. I'm super, super excited to teach on this topic. This topic came to me, I was on a flight to Maui in February, and I often get these like crazy downloads when I'm on airplanes. Don't ask me why. I don't know if I'm closer to the cosmos or in a quiet, confined space where there's no distraction or what it is, but there's something about airplanes. And so this hit me, and it was like, you have to tell your story, and you have to talk about the deeper, more energetic pieces of body weight. And so I just like wrote out this whole program, and I have since then, it has been on my mind like nonstop. Like I would be going to bed like 3 days ago and like, okay, this will be the first thing you talk about. This is the next. So like this has been in me to get out like very intensely. So I'm super excited to finally be in this space where I can share it with you guys. And there was a huge response to this workshop. A lot of people are going to catch the replay, but it's by far been the most popular workshop that I've ever hosted. So there certainly is a need and desire for this kind of information around the topic of body weight. So I want to start with a little disclaimer and intention setting here. Body weight is a very, very, very sensitive topic for so many people, for most people. And so I want to just let you guys know that whatever I'm sharing or saying to you today, I really am coming from a place of love and compassion and honoring your journey with this, because it's very, very emotional, and it hits relationships, it hits work, it hits how you eat your meals every day. Like it hits so many areas. And so my goal is to be as compassionate as possible. That being said, if I trigger you in any way, if I say something and you're like, ugh, Rachel, no, let that stuff go. So my point is, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the solutions here. I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to give you a lot of tools that have been very powerful for me and that I have seen be very powerful for my clients. I've been working with people with body weight since I was probably, I don't know, 21 years old. So it's been 17 years of working with body weight in different capacities. And so I've just picked up a ton and read a tremendous amount of books. And so I'm just going to share the tools that I have picked up. So if anything doesn't resonate or anything triggers you or feels like hurtful, like just know that's not my intention. And that if we were to have that conversation in a one-to-one format, I would never let you feel that way. So I'm trying to be as respectful as possible, but I can't be perfect. And I don't think I'll hit that too much, but just in case, I want you to know that's not my intention. And if you want to share any feedback with me on this, I'm more than open and receptive to it. Okay, so my intention is to share the tools that have really helped me gain, I want to say, complete and total freedom from my body weight. And is it never a thing that pops up anymore? It's super rare at this point. And if any little ego trigger or self-judgment pops up, I can pretty quickly just be like, no, you don't need that, Rachel, and like and move on and be done with it. So I would say I'm 99.9% free of any issues with my body weight at this point in my life. And it's a really magnificent, powerful, empowering, just beautiful, joyful place to be. And that's why I wanted to share this with you guys. So I'm going to start with a few oils, because you guys know I love my essential oils. So the first one is grapefruit. I love doTERRA oils personally. So grapefruit is the oil of honoring the body. And I'm going to use this. I didn't look up. I have this book of emotions and essential oils. There's a new version of this, but it's the same thing. And it will tell you like good spots to use these oils, but I'm just going to use them where I feel guided. So I'm going to put this one on the back of my neck, which kind of hits like the governing meridian. Grapefruit oil smells so good to me. So it will hit all the chakras, all the energy meridians in the body. I'm also going to use Copaiba, which is the oil of unveiling. And I'm going to put this one on my heart chakra. And Copaiba is the oil for safely exploring unintegrated parts of the shadow. It's really grounding. It's like kind of a woody smell, but this is one of the first oils that I got. It was like, spend a certain amount and you get a free oil. And this was a free one I got. And I was like, oh, this is an oil for me. Like, I love this oil. So it's really good if you're having a hard time and there's tough stuff coming up and you need to work through it. Or if you just are like, hey, I don't even know what shadow work is, but I'm open to learning about it. You can start to use that and it will start to open you up into those spaces where you can start to work through deeper stuff that is more challenging. Then the third oil I'm going to use is cilantro. And this is the oil for releasing control. I'm going to use this one on my sacral chakra, just below the belly button. So this one facilitates detoxification of negative emotions. And it's really about letting go, just freaking letting go and releasing the idea that we have any kind of control, and releasing those dense emotions that may be holding us back from feeling really good every day. So Eileen just shared those oils and where you can get them in the chat box if that is of interest to you. But essential oils have been a huge part of my emotional healing journey and my shadow work, and I will talk more about that as we go along. Okay, so now I've kind of set the tone with these essential oils and set the tone with my body, essentially, with my brain here. And I'm going to move into sharing my story, but I first want to set the container. And so I'm going to invite all of you to just close your eyes for a moment. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through the mouth. A couple more deep breaths. Continuing to breathe as you begin to send a grounding cord down from the base of your spine, down through the foundation of your home or wherever you may be, down through the layers of the earth, creating this grounding root that grows deeper and deeper into the earth, anchoring you into the love, abundance, and infinite wisdom of Mother Earth. And you're going to send that grounding cord, that taproot, down to the very center, the core of the earth, and wrapping that around the Earth Star chakra, the energy center of the earth. And just allowing that powerful grounding energy to hold you in this space. Inviting in our guardian angels and guides to hold us in this space, to allow us to receive the information and the downloads that are going to propel us forward on our healing journeys. Allowing us to integrate the information that serves our highest good and the highest good of all those concerned. And holding us in this safe, grounded, and sacred container where we are open to be vulnerable and honest. And it is safe to be fully embodied in our own physical vessel. It is safe to truly feel your own self and to be fully connected to your body. And we'll ask, I'm going to set the intention that we begin to unwind any dense energy that's been holding us in a physical body that's out of balance, in an emotional body that's out of balance. And we're asking that healing begin on this call that propels us forward in a powerful way. Breathing that energy in. And then bringing your awareness back to this space, wiggling fingers and toes, and opening your eyes back to the room. Okay, cool. That feels good. I have to get grounded before I do these calls too. Sometimes I get so excited, I start like all over the place. Okay, so let me share my story, which the first time I ever shared my story, gosh, must have been 2015. So about 6 years ago was the first time I ever talked about my body weight. And I got up in a room full of like half my friends and half strangers, and there were only like, I don't know, 12 people there or something. And I did it in the basement of a library. It was like my first kickoff event for when I started my brick and mortar nutrition practice that I had. And I probably almost cried. I was probably like very raw, and it was really scary, but it was a really powerful step for me. So if you guys have the opportunity to share your story, and maybe I'll even invite you guys to do this in my Facebook group. It's really powerful for taking energy that's kind of floating around and that has no substance and putting it into physical form. You can do that through speaking, through typing, through writing, through artwork, through movement. But it takes some of this really intense stuff that maybe we kind of have floating around us in our aura all the time, and it moves it out. So there's a real power in telling your story. So, and I think we all like to hear stories. So early on, I'm going to say my first memories of struggling with weight started in second grade. And I remember comparing my body weight to my friend's body weight. Like my friend weighed 70 pounds and I weighed 80 pounds. And I was already feeling like things about that. I remember going to my third or fourth grade pictures and like being really worried that I had a double chin. So there's a lot of body image stuff going on. There's photos of me when I was a kid and I was like chubby, but I wasn't like, the level of shame I carried in my body was disproportionate to what my body looked like and the amount of external programming I was receiving about body image. Okay, so this was like this is a deep thing that I realized was my level of shame was disproportionate to my body. And so there's pictures of me like wearing t-shirts on the beach and like at pools and stuff. And I know that no one in my space was telling me I was overweight or creating body shame directly. And I didn't know, at the time it was so powerful. Like the emotion of the shame was so powerful that I thought my body was much bigger than it was. I thought it was much more imbalanced than it was. So that was a very early lesson in our perception. A perception of ourselves can be because of our emotional, energetic state, can be very different than our actual physical reality. So that I started to pull apart about 10 years ago. Like I looked back and looked at those pictures and I was like, wow, why was I so worried and so upset and so scared? And I didn't know. And so that was kind of the earliest memories. And then my weight kind of just continued to grow and grow. And I think one of my highest weights was in like 8th grade. I remember getting on the scale and I weighed 7 pounds less than my dad. And I just felt so much shame about that. I was looking at my pant size that were like the same as my dad, or maybe even they were getting bigger because he's kind of a tall, lean guy. And there was so much shame and there was so much like it felt smothering and just horrible. And it destroyed my self-esteem. People don't believe this about me, but I was so shy. I would go to like parties and I wouldn't talk. I would be like I wouldn't talk and people would be like, Rachel, do you talk? And I'd be like, yeah, I talk. And I was in such a shell. I was locked away in such a shell. And all I wanted to do was come out of that shell. And I was always smart. I always got good grades. I always was able to make friends in smaller groups, but in bigger groups, I was always, and especially around males, I was really in a shell all the time. And when I went to college, I had a very, very hard time making friends because I was so painfully shy. Now I just get on and blab about anything. Like I have no secrets, but it was a really, really difficult time for me in terms of confidence and knowing my worth and feeling trapped in this body that didn't match who I wanted to be. So where shall we fast forward? Oh, so I had this weight issue my whole life, and I went to college, and I was always interested in science. So nutrition became a natural interest for me because of the relationship between food and body weight, right? And so I studied nutrition. I got a degree. I did this whole year-long internship, became a registered dietitian, and I learned all the things about calorie counting and all the different diets and meal replacements and carb counting and diabetic meal plans and all the things, right? And I moved into a pretty clinical setting, because I still really struggled with connecting to people. I was still very shy, very insecure. And so like one-on-one work, or even speaking in it was difficult. So I continued to kind of struggle with my weight, and it would go up and down at different times. And then one day I was at my first job after college. I would have been 23 or 24. And I had a really shitty day at work. I don't remember what happened, but I just remember leaving work and feeling like angry, hurt, upset. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to McDonald's right now. So I got in my car and I drove to McDonald's, and like, there's no way I'm going in McDonald's because, you know, I'm a registered dietitian. I have this like image to uphold, right? So I go through the drive-through, I get my food, and then I'm in such a state, there's no way I'm like, I'll drive home and sit down and have a nice meal. Like, no, I'm ready to cram this food in my face. So I pull into the next parking spot so I can eat alone. And like unwrap my burger and I take a big bite. And then like I got hit over the head with this information. I was like, I'm emotionally eating. And it was the first time in my life that I realized that I was an emotional eater. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it literally like, boom, like you're emotionally eating. And how did I get through a 5-year degree and all this training? I got a certificate in adult weight management that was like 40 hours of training or something. And I never knew I was an emotional eater. I never knew. And so, okay, cool. So I had this epiphany, right? So what do I do with this? Really nothing for years, because I had no tools for emotional eating. Some people will tell you like, oh, go take a walk, take some deep breaths, do something else. Like, no, when you are at that low and food is your coping mechanism, there is nothing else that is going to substitute there, right? Like that is the coping mechanism. And so it was this like realization that I would rather have a stomach ache and feel physically ill from eating horrible food than feel the emotions that were coming up and work through the stuff. And because I was never taught how to work through those emotions, I didn't understand that it was okay to be emotional. Like emotions were something that had to be shoved down and not shared, and that, you know, only came out when things got so bad that you couldn't hold it in any longer. So that went on for a long time, for, I don't know, at least another 10 years, almost another 10 years. So I would find myself, alcohol was another method for me for checking out and for working through all that insecurity and fear and like shame that I had, because alcohol took away all the fear. So then like I could be myself, I felt like, with alcohol. And I always desired deep connections with people, and alcohol allowed me to put down my own guard and like be myself. And so I was a big drinker for a long time because that was my only way to escape my own insecurity and fear. And so I lived for the weekend binges, and maybe the Thursday night binges, and maybe the Wednesday night binges sometimes. But what would happen is I would live for those binges so I could get those highs of feeling like I connected with people, highs of feeling like I could really be myself, like I could really speak the way I wanted to speak, and I could dance, and I could be out in the world without being afraid. But then, okay, so I learned a lot, but then I would land on Sundays and I would hit those Sunday blues, and the emotional eating would be just, I would just suffer. I would suffer on Sundays. I would be so lonely. This especially, so all through my 20s, I would be so lonely. I would feel so hollow. I would feel like I had no purpose. I would feel like I just was carrying this mountain around of tough emotion. And so I would just eat on Sundays. I would get pizza. I would get a huge bag of chips. I would eat a pint of ice cream. Like I would just eat and I'd be so hungover and so sick. And that's where and I would just be alone on Sundays doing that. And it was awful. And I didn't know how to get out of that. I didn't know how to work with those emotions. I didn't know. Yeah, the food was just such a comfort and such a distraction for me. So how did I get out of this? I just kept taking one step forward at a time. And eventually, let me just make sure I haven't missed any parts in my story here. So I found myself moving to Rhode Island. I was living in New York City for 5 years in the suburbs of New York City. And I found myself moving to Rhode Island to kind of escape that city lifestyle when I was 30. So it was about 8 years ago. And I started shortly after that working with a spiritual teacher. So I was like, I need to do something about this. Like, I can't keep living like this. I need help. And I never felt like traditional therapy was the route for me. So I went online and I was like, I don't know what I typed in, spiritual healer or spiritual coach or something. And I found this woman locally and I just made an appointment with her. And I was terrified. I remember driving in the car to her office and I was like so nervous and so anxious and so terrified, but like I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep living the way I was living. And I had some band-aids along the way. Like I met my former partner and we got married, but life was not getting better. So I went to this woman. Her name was Gladys Ellen, and she still practices if you want to check her out. She's one of the people who just changed my life, saved my life. And so I started working with her, and she really opened me up to the world of higher level spirituality, of working with angels, of angel cards, of crystals. She was my first spiritual teacher. I'm going to cry because I love her so much. I'm going to have to send her an email after this, but she changed my life and she opened me up to all the things that I do now. And I remember being in her office and talking to her, and I was like, I want to do what you do. And I had no intuitive stuff going on then. I was working a corporate job. I remember very clearly being in her office and thinking like, I want to do what you do. I don't know how, but that's what I want to do. And so that dream has come to fruition I was probably 32. Within 5 years, that dream came to fruition, having no idea. And I had a baby in the middle, which took a big pause. I had no idea how I would do that, but that's where that dream started. She really inspired me. And so, and she also taught me that I was an empath, and that part of the heaviness of the emotions I was feeling is because I was taking on other people's energy all the time. And I always felt responsible for other people's emotions. And I could never be my authentic self if it was going to offend or scare or hurt or whatever someone else. It was people pleasing. I was always catering to everyone else's emotional state, everyone else's vibrational state. So I was denying myself all the time. And I was still carrying all this shame. So I learned I was an empath and started to work through that. The emotional eating was still very much happening. I would come home after work some days and my partner at the time would be like, "Are you okay?" And I would just be like, "I need to shut down." And I didn't even know that's what I was doing, but we were like newly living together. And I would go in this little TV room and I would just like put the TV on and I would just eat like whatever. I had to like shut down and shut out the world. And so that was me being an empath and not realizing it. And so Gladys really helped me to understand that I was an empath. And then I, through my own healing, have worked through that and understood that on higher and higher levels and turned that curse into a gift that really helps me do my work now. but that was also causing me to emotionally eat because I was feeling all this stuff that was not mine, that was other people's. And so then I needed to numb that in some way. And I did that with food. So fast forward a few years, and I had opened my own practice, and I had decided I wanted to create a virtual business. This was 2018, like the beginning of 2018. I was like, okay, I'm going to start a virtual practice. And I enrolled in my first year-long business training. And I launched my website in July of 2018. So I kind of count that as like the real start of Rachel Pellison Healing, which was called Rachel Pellison Nutrition back then. And I, in January of 2018, found Medical Medium, and that information resonated with me so deeply. I immediately started to change my diet, started to shift to this plant-based diet, and bringing in tremendous amounts of raw foods, lowering the fat in my diet, doing all the, going through all the detox. And that really helped to clear out my physical body. Like that was life-changing because so much emotion is held in the toxicity in the body. And so when I started to clean out my physical vessel, then the emotions become so much more clear because you're not sort of under this fog of all the chemicals in food, and you're not under the fog of all this fat in the bloodstream that's making your body have to work harder, and all this heavy digestive burden that's slowing you down and making you feel fatigued. So when I started to clear my body physically, then the emotional stuff started to come up a lot more clearly and in a way that I felt like I could manage it. And now, of course, I've been on my healing journey for a while now, right? But I feel very much a novice at that point. And what came up for me about 10 months into my physical healing protocols was a repressed trauma. And I had a repressed sexual trauma from when I was like 6 or 7. And that came through because I was doing so much deep healing. I was ready to unlock that, and I was ready to process and move through that and heal that. And I wasn't ready up until then, but it explained so many things for me. It explained all the body shame that I had for such a long time that was disproportionate to what my physical body looked like. It explained just the fear and the insecurity that I was carrying. It just explained so many things. And I've had lots of synchronicities and things that I realized since then. And so that was another huge piece of unlocking why I was carrying all this extra weight in my body. And through the medical medium protocols, I did lose weight. It was never a diet to me. It was never a weight loss plan. It's just something that happened because of my focus was on healing. I had psoriasis, which is an autoimmune condition, for 13 years. That healed. My focus was on healing. It was cleaning up my liver. It was, and that process of clearing out my physical body, my intuition came on, like super intense through that process as well. So this is kind of what I teach. The foundation of healing is, in my world, beginning to clear out the physical toxicity. And then through that, you gain this emotional clarity, and a lot will come up for healing because now you're more ready for it. And then once the emotions become more clear, they come back online as a guidance system as opposed to a burden or baggage. Then your spiritual aspects of self can begin to flourish and open up, and you can begin to move through life with this awareness of a 5D consciousness, right? Of the idea that we are a spirit in human form, and we're not just a physical body. We're much more than that. So I also used techniques like emotion code to clear a lot of dense energy out of my body. That has been an absolute life-changing therapy for me. Essential oils help me. I use crystals, all kinds of things. And a lot of work on my own, in my own space of healing, in my own meditations, in my own journeys, in my own dreams, in my own journaling, that has come through for healing for me. So I got to this point where I could become my own healer. And now I feel like there's really nothing I couldn't tackle or manage at this point in my life. And that's a really powerful place to be. So with this whole story and all this work and all these pieces that I unraveled, I find myself now where my weight is effortless. I do still emotionally eat sometimes, to varying extents, but most of the time it's not to the, it's never, I will say it's never to the degree that it used to be. It's never to the point of like just being in despair. You know, I never hit that point and use food to numb despair. I don't get to I don't know. I can't remember the last time I got to the point of despair. There's a lot, right? Like there's a lot of emotion that comes up as you're healing. There's a lot of painful stuff to process, but the deeper that pain goes, the more you're creating space for light to come in and for your journey to become more joyful. So the harder it feels, just know that's more energy that you're moving. So I find myself in this space where maintaining my weight is effortless. I do very little emotional eating. And when I do emotionally eat, I'm very conscious of what I'm doing and I understand it and I have no shame about it and I can talk about it. And sometimes I post it on social media, like, hey, here's where I am. Like, this is my honest truth. I don't eat perfect. I don't eat strictly the medical medium way all the time. Sometimes I do and it feels good and sometimes I don't. I really eat very intuitively now. And that's part of my mission to share that, is to take the information that resonates and that feels really good for you and then leave the rest. Like, don't feel like you have to get stuck in one thing all the time. So I feel this real, at this point in my life, this real sovereignty in my own body, the safety in my own body, empowerment in my own body. I love my body more than I ever have in my whole life. I didn't know I'd ever love my body so much. Even after having a baby and even after I look in the mirror and go like, ooh, that didn't used to look like that. That's different. That I don't care. Like I don't, my sense of self-worth is no longer tied up in what my body looks like. And the interesting thing is that the more I step into those vibrations and those feelings, the more my body changes. The more my body looks the way I desire it to look, the more it looks the way I want it to look to express who I am. And so it's this space of where like you don't change the body and then you feel that way. You feel that way and then the body will start to match it. And the more and more you feel that way, the less and less it matters what your body looks like. So it's a little abstract, but that's what I'm here to kind of teach you guys, is to share the tools that help me get to this space, because I want everyone to feel like this. Every single person, and especially every single woman, like deserves to feel sovereign in her own body and to feel like this love and appreciation and empowerment in their own body, and to be able to express it in a way that feels really good to them in their own unique way. So that's where I will jump to next. And if you guys have questions at any time, please pop them in the chat box. I'm happy to answer and make this a little more of a back and forth. Okay. So I'm going to pull a card for us. And it's going to be this is the Megan Watterson Divine Feminine Oracle deck. So let's pull a card here and see what goddess wants to come through to help guide us through this next portion of the chat here. Okay, so I'm going to ask that the energy of one of these goddesses come through to help guide us through this conversation, through this healing, and that we are held in her energy and supported and loved. Okay. This one popping out. Isis. Woo! I heard Isis in a song. Of course. I was listening to I can't remember the name, a song, and he talked about Isis, about his woman being Isis. So Isis is the goddess of magic. Sexual energy is sacred. My pleasure is a prayer that brings me back to life. And Isis is looking gorgeous here. Very Greek, Egyptian goddess. Okay, of course we got Isis, and I heard her name right before this call. So funny. All right. So I'm also going to pull, let's do one more. I'm going to pull an Archangel Raphael healing card. I've been into these Archangel Raphael cards lately. We will also ask that Archangel Raphael send the message through that is most important for all of us to hear in terms of healing our relationships with our body and our physical weight. And the answer is meditation. Dear Archangel Raphael, please meditate with me. Guide my mind and body to focus upon peace, health, and wellness. That's a beautiful card too. Okay, so there we have it. Pretty in alignment with exactly what I was going to talk about, of course. Okay, so let's talk about body weight. What does excess body weight represent? Do I have a deck to use with kids? There was a great deck by Doreen Virtue that was like, they were called cherub angel cards, and they were like little kid size. I don't think they're printing those anymore. I don't know if they're printing any of the Doreen Virtue decks anymore. I like the Magical Unicorn deck. That one's great for kids. That's a Doreen Virtue deck. And there are some decks geared towards kids. So if you just look up like kids oracle cards, you should find a couple things. There's definitely some out there. Okay, so I'll start by saying the Archangel Raphael deck I ordered probably through Amazon. I don't know that they're printing any of these Doreen Virtue decks anymore. Doreen Virtue went born again Christian and renounced all of her books and her cards and all of her channeling and didn't want any profits from them. Like the company had the rights to them, but I don't know how much they're printing anymore. So sometimes you can find used versions of them, but they're not around all the time. To be honest with you, they don't resonate with me the way they used to. I think it's an evolution in my own growth and stuff, but there's certainly value in every deck. Okay, so back to body weight. So weight is a far more complex issue than we have been led to believe through diet culture, which is the primary educational source that we've received information about nutrition and about food from. The diet industry is $1 billion industry. It's a marketing industry. It's a profit industry. It's not really an industry for helping people. So we've been fed a tremendous amount of misinformation. And a lot of the research there's a woman who I interact with in a business perspective, and she went through a weight loss study and they literally starved her. Like she got like, I can't remember if it was 1,000 calories or 800 or 12. I don't know. They starved her in this weight loss study. And I was like, how? And she came back and has all these fears around food and has gained more weight back and is like so confused and lost. And like, so the research that's being done is showing cholesterol numbers, body weight numbers. It's not talking about people's mental health with dieting. That's a huge space that's missing. Like we need to focus on mental health first and then bring the food in to support that, right? Because the dieting industry is pure madness. And we have either been ourselves or know many, many people who've been on the yo-yo, right? And you lose and then you gain more, and you lose and then you gain more, and you lose and then you gain more. And then we become so out of touch with our bodies that we don't even know what's good. We don't even recognize our own appetite. We don't even know about hunger and fullness cues. We become so disassociated because someone told us, someone programmed us that if we stick to these rigid rules, if we cut our calories, if we do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, you'll lose this many pounds and then you'll be happy. And it just doesn't work. If the diet industry has proved anything, it's that they get people addicted to diets. And so this has been a topic that I have been ferociously passionate about speaking the truth on for a long time. I, knock on wood, was very lucky to never fall into the dieting trap because honestly, I didn't have the willpower for it. Like I really didn't. Like, and I don't believe in willpower. I did a video on this on my Instagram about willpower versus alignment. And I just never had the willpower. I just could never be that strict with myself. So I never was able to intentionally lose weight. My weight has always fluctuated based on my vibration and my my energetic state. When I'm happy, my weight goes down. When I start to find myself in a situation where I'm in a job that's way out of alignment, my weight starts to go up. When my relationship starts to get really out of whack and I'm unhappy, my weight starts to go up, right? So this has been the only way that weight has been manageable for me is through really focusing on making the decisions that make me happy. And then I naturally start to eat better. And of course, there are strategies within your eating plan that are very supportive of weight loss, that are very supportive of liver detox. But so that's sort of beyond the scope of what we're going to talk about today. But within those strategies is a tremendous amount of space to make it what works for you and what feels really good. So for me, when clients come to me and they say, I want to lose weight, I say, I'm sorry, I don't do weight loss. Like I literally am like, no, I don't do weight loss. I'm like, because gaining weight is a symptom of a deeper underlying problem. It is not the problem itself. So when we try to go after the symptoms, right? If you're in the medical medium world at all, you know this. If you try to go after and just suppress the symptoms, the underlying deeper problem just keeps getting worse and worse. You're just putting Band-Aid after Band-Aid over that festering wound. So, so I would very clearly tell people, like, don't do weight loss, but we will address the underlying root causes of why you're gaining weight. And so there is a huge physical component to that. There is physical toxicity is a massive driver of weight gain because the body uses fat tissue to hold toxins and to keep them out of circulation. So the body weight is a safety net for toxicity in the body. And that toxicity can come from environmental toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, off-gassing of products in our home, air pollution. There's tons of things. So again, that physical piece is sort of beyond the context of this discussion today, but it's a very important piece. But I want to talk about the other pieces that are underlying root causes today. So in my experience and what I've seen with my clients is that excess body weight comes from density, from heavy emotions, from baggage, from literal physical weight that we're carrying. Here's my little fruit fly. I get every time I do a talk, this little tiny, I don't even think it's a fruit fly, it's like a gnat, and it gets right in my face. And so it's just like a little, I always think it's a little fairy. You guys probably can't even see it, it's so tiny. So it's a little spirit messenger for sure. So the body weight is a representation of something else. And so it's up to us to go within and figure out, okay, what's the real underlying imbalance? What's the real underlying root cause here? How much emotional eating am I doing? Maybe I didn't realize I'm an emotional eater, or maybe I know I'm an emotional eater, but I don't realize how much I'm doing that. So I'm going to give you some practical steps for how you start to work through what are these underlying root causes. But I want to share one story, and this may seem a little off topic, but I can't get away from sharing this story. I keep asking, does this make sense to share this? But I feel like I have to. So this is a story about your body holds your soul, but your body is not you. So this is a story about my former brother-in-law who had very severe cerebral palsy. And I had the privilege of getting to visit him once. He was lived in like a group home because he needed 24-hour care, and he was wheelchair bound, and he had to have completely pureed food, and he was nonverbal. And he was he was super lean, but he was a big guy. He was tall. He was at least 6 feet tall. So he needed a professional nursing care. So I got the privilege of getting to meet him one time. Oh God, it's gonna make me cry. So he was one of the most incredible humans that I've ever met, because he was so independent of his body. He couldn't speak, but his ability to communicate and the aura that he gave off was absolutely profound. All you needed to do was be in his space and sit next to him. And I was like, I hadn't even tapped into I didn't even know I was an empath yet, but I sat in front of him and I was like, holy shit, this is one highly evolved human being. And the message that he kind of shared with me, I didn't know I was so intuitive at the time, but the or maybe I did. The message he shared with me was that he was not of his body and that he chose to come into this lifetime in this very physically debilitated, I don't even want to call him debilitated, but this body that didn't have a lot of ability to move and he didn't have physical freedom in any way, shape, or form. He didn't have a lot of freedoms, but what he had was this power within him of being separate from that physicality. His state of mind, his consciousness was in no way, shape, or form bound by his physicality. So that's the thing. The power in this message is like, it doesn't matter what your body is. You are your consciousness, you are your spirit, and the physical body holds this vessel and allows you to move through this three-dimensional world, but you really are your spirit. And the more you can bring, I keep getting this analogy of like bringing your spirit into your body, holding more of your own light energy in your vessel. And that's what Christopher could do. He was holding so much light energy in this very physically limited body. And it literally one of the most profound experiences of my life. And he could just look at you for a second and you were like, wow. And the other message he shared was that this was one of his last lifetimes on Earth, and that he came into this body because he was so highly evolved consciously that he needed to experience the loss of free will, because he didn't have a lot of free will in his life. He couldn't choose where he went. He couldn't choose what he did. He couldn't choose when he ate his meals. He was in this. So in some sense, you take away a lot of the pressures of life, because you don't have to pay your bills and you don't have to worry about money. But it was almost like an animalistic existence where he didn't have to worry. He didn't have all the worries and fears, but he had to live within the confines of his limited physicality, but that allowed him to live in his higher consciousness all the freaking time. And it allowed him to watch and observe without because sometimes we don't give people enough credit when they're mentally or handicapped. We think they don't understand, they don't hear, they don't see, but oftentimes they're taking it in at a much higher level than we ever could, because we've got all this other stuff. We have to pay the bills, and we have to do the laundry, and we have to cook our food, and we have to make plans for the future and get mortgages, right? And so he lived in this higher level consciousness, and he could just observe the human condition. And that's why this was one of his last lifetimes, was to really bear witness to the human condition in physical form. So so I'm like, why this story? But the point of it is that you are not your body, you are your higher self. And so the idea that we need to control the physical body or make it into something that it's not, or get rid of all these symptoms, or like will them away, or do all these things to make things different. It's about embodying more of our higher consciousness. That's what it is. And so don't let your own body weight cloud you or take you away from living in your higher consciousness. That was the big message that Christopher shared with me. And I feel so connected to him, even though I only met him one time. But he was such an incredible soul. Okay, so I am going to invite you guys, because I just talked a lot, to get your journals out. I'm going to take a moment to regroup over here myself too. I always cry in these things, guys. I always cry. I'm going to invite you to get your journals out. I'm going to feed my adrenals over here with a little glucose from my lemon water. And just start to write down some ahas, some things that resonated with what I've talked about so far, some similarities in your journey, some spaces where just start to write out whatever's popping into your mind. You can even write the question, what are my most important takeaways so far? And they may not be things I said, they may be things that popped into your own head. So just starting to take that energy into physical form. So I'm going to give you guys just another minute to kind of wrap up what you're writing so far. Oops. Okay, so let's come back together, and certainly you can continue to write if you feel you need to while I talk. So the the lesson that Christopher taught me was about suffering. And so many people witnessed his life as a life of suffering. And that's not how he saw it at all. That was not the message that he gave me. We assume that, and we've been taught to believe that when we don't have a perfectly healthy body, X amount of money in the bank, a lifelong partner, spouse, children, whatever else, these are the keys to happiness, right? And if you don't have these things, you won't be happy. And that really can't be further from the truth. Happiness is an inside job. It's a choice. Suffering is a choice. We all know people or have seen people who live very, very simple lives. Think about some of the few indigenous tribes that are left, right? They live very, very simple lives. And they're probably much happier people than most of us Americans who have tons of resources. And I mean, we have computers and internet. We can have any kind of food we want delivered to our door whenever we want it within 30 minutes, right? Like we live the lives of kings and queens in centuries past. Literally, we live beyond that, right? They didn't have cars. They didn't have, we can get food from across the world. We can order products from across the world. And if they're not at our doorstep within 2 days, like we're pissed off, right? So we live the lives of kings and queens. We have all the resources now. So happiness is not, it's not, it doesn't come from these external sources. It's a choice. And suffering, because happiness is a choice, suffering is also a choice. And Christopher didn't suffer, even though other people deemed his life a life of suffering. That was not his experience. And that was what he taught me. And so we now can choose, and it doesn't mean that we don't have painful moments, because we do. The amount of tears I have shed over this journey, guys, I could fill a swimming pool multiple times. But it's emotions are different than suffering, right? So how do you start to unravel all of this and gain this freedom? And thank you guys so much for your comments. Like, I'll probably cry a lot after this, because I'm just so honored to like have you guys here doing this work and being in this space. So the first step for me in all healing is compassionate self-observation. I used to call it non-judgmental self-observation, but it's shifting to compassionate self-observation. So it begins with just watching yourself, watching the thoughts that pop through, watching your behaviors, watching your actions, watching how other people are responding to you, watching your patterns, watching your own energy, watching your feelings and emotions, just watching. Start to witness yourself from your higher self and just look at the day to day. Look at every thought, watch it, connect to it, because that brings us back into the present moment. And it allows you to, but right, we all have a friend who's in a really bad relationship. And all you want to do is like shake them and be like, why are you doing this? This person is treating you like shit. Just break up with them, right? We've all been in that situation. And sometimes you do that and they're not ready for it. They can't hear it. They can't see it, because when we're in the woods of our own story, we cannot see the forest. We can only see this small space, or I call it the tunnel. When we're in the tunnel of our own experience, all we can see is what's right here. And we can't see the full perspective. We can't see it from a higher space. So start to bear witness to the day-to-day things and the thoughts. I'm trying to think of a good example. This week I've been tired this week. And I don't know why. We never know why. I could be like, oh, is the time change? Oh, is a planet? Oh, I'm being held back until the next big thing comes in Aries season. Like, I don't know why. I was just tired this week. And so when I'm tired, I don't have a lot of energy to give to my daughter. And so I found myself this week wanting to just put the TV on and be on my phone. And I recognized that is a way for me to energetically check out because I'm tired and I don't want, and she wants me to, she's an only child. She wants me to run around with her. She wants me to play with her. She wants me to, and I'm just like, my body doesn't want to do that right now. But when you're a mom, you don't always have a choice. Sometimes you have to like do what they want to do. And so there's a happy medium in there, right? And so am I checking out on my phone with her sometimes? Totally, 100% owning that. Is that like a really horrible thing if it happens here and there? No, she'll be fine, right? And the fact that I'm aware that that's what I'm doing, and then I can be like, okay, now I put my phone down and give you undivided attention. Now we do something together. Now we go outside. So, or I get paints out for you. So she has something to do and I don't have to be as intensely involved in it. So it's just that process of like witnessing ourselves and then not beating yourself up for it. Like not feeling like we have to be perfect all the time. I also found myself leaning on caffeine this week. My sources of caffeine are like chocolate and like matcha green tea. So it's like very little caffeine. But for me, I'm so sensitive to caffeine because my system is so clean and my adrenals are so healthy that makes a big difference in my energy. And so I leaned on that a little bit this week. And I'm not mad at myself for it. I'm not like, oh, that was, like a terrible thing to do, because most of you know I don't recommend consuming a lot of caffeine, right? And so like I just watch that and go like, well, that's what I needed to do to kind of get through this week so I could have enough energy to be with my daughter and play with her and take her outside. And that's what I needed, so just watching what you're doing and why you're doing it. Why are you going to your phone? Why are you leaning on caffeine? Why am I eating chocolate? I'm eating it for the energy boost. That's what I was eating it for. So just sort of like watching yourself and don't try to control it or change it. This is the key thing. You don't go like, oh, I'm eating chocolate this week, and then like throw it in the garbage, or like, I'm never doing this again, or like, this is a bad thing. Like you just go like, I'm eating chocolate because I'm tired. And I haven't been like making as many smoothies because I'm tired and I just want convenience food. And that's okay. That's just this week. So yeah, don't try to control that or change it. Just watch it. And then ask what's underneath it. So for me, it was fatigue. And why was I fatigued? I really don't know. I'm really not sure. I honestly think for me, I'm in a little bit of a holding pattern right now because I'm about to make a big shift in my business. And I just think there's still information coming and I'm not supposed to put this next thing out yet. The people who are going to join this next thing might be getting ready. And so if I put it out too soon, they may not be ready if I try to force it. So I'm just in this space of like being comfortable with my fatigue this week, being comfortable with waiting, being comfortable with knowing that everything comes in divine timing and not getting freaked out about it. In the past, I would have gotten freaked out about it. I would have been like forcing, consuming a lot more caffeine, trying to stay up at night, like trying to make things happen. And now I've been through it enough times that I don't work in the energy of force at all, at all. So if you guys want to share anything that you feel like you're catching yourself doing, and we can kind of workshop through this a little bit. So if there's any patterns, you can share in the chat box. If there's any patterns or blocks or things that are coming up, we can kind of workshop through that. So once you identify these patterns that are showing up, once you start to observe, like get clear on what the emotion is underneath that. So let's see. The most recent emotion I've really worked on is loneliness. And so I would use all these distractions to try and avoid loneliness. So if you can get down to what's the emotion behind the behaviors, now you're starting to work with something that you can shift. Not judging your observations is the hardest part. Yeah, totally. Because we've just been taught to criticize ourselves and to be held to these ridiculous standards, that we are not our bodies but life experiences. Yeah, that's just such a beautiful statement. The body's never going to be perfect, no matter how much you cleanse, No matter how perfectly you eat, the body's never going to be perfect. I find I eat bad, then get mad, that I just ate badly. Okay, so there's this pattern of like being angry at yourself for not doing what you think you need to do. So first of all, so Lisa, what happens after you get angry at yourself for eating badly? So just decide you're not going to get angry at yourself anymore. Just decide if you eat pizza, oh well, I ate pizza, whatever. It's in the past, can't change it. I vow to not eat like that again, but I do. Okay, so you eat bad, you get mad at yourself, you vow that you're never going to do it again, and then you do it again. And so, right, you're caught in this cycle of like anger and resentment and like having these expectations that you can't fulfill. You're allowed to eat bad. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, I'm probably the worst. I don't call myself a medical medium practitioner, but I use a lot of information, but I'm probably the worst like practitioner because I don't eat perfectly, guys. And like, I'm the healthiest, the happiest I've ever been. And it's a lot about taking that pressure off around perfection. Like, I just say now I eat pizza once a month because I do. Every month I eat pizza once a month, and it never really makes me feel that good. But like, just fuck it. Like that, like just fuck it. Like, it doesn't matter if you eat pizza once a month. There's literally nothing wrong with that. Letting go of perfectionism. Yes, yes. So all these topics are kind of one and the same, right? Like the perfection, you want to eat perfect, and then your expectation isn't met, and then you're angry, and then you vow to never do it again, and then we're in this loop. So stop expecting yourself to eat perfectly. Start paying attention to why did you eat the bad food in the first place? Because we're in the surface loop. Why did you eat the bad food in the first place? Does anybody have any anything coming up for them that where they understand why they ate the bad food in the first place? I've been gauging my overall health on my weight and not focusing how far I've come. Feeling better than I have in 10 years. Yeah, you got to focus on the good stuff. Yes, you wanted easy foods this week. I ate out almost every night this week. I did not cook a thing, like, and that's okay. And guess what? My pants felt a little tight yesterday. I put my britches on and I was like, ooh, this felt a little tight. But I was just like, but I know that then my energy is going to come back online next week, and I'm going to like feel inspired to do a juice cleanse day, or I'm going to not to lose weight, but just because like that's what my body's craving. And then like, or I'm just going to get back on like raw till noon, and then like it's going to shift again. Like, it's so fluid. And this is the energy of the divine feminine, you guys. It's so fluid how what we eat needs to change on a daily basis. We need to eat differently on different days, on different weeks, during different zodiac signs, during different seasons, during different parts of our menstrual cycle. We need to constantly be ebbing and flowing, and that is life. Life is not a straight line, right? It's like this, and it's like this. It's a spiral. So we're constantly revisiting the same issues in different ways and capacities. What was underneath wanting easy foods was trying to work with an ex to get health insurance. So some like very 3D thing that you have to deal with. Uncomfortable working with systems that aren't set up to help people, having to revisit a divorce, paperwork, very triggering. So yeah, and so Terry got to eat like homemade comfort foods that didn't have all the crap in them. So that's beautiful. Yes, pick a statement that you can sub in for the negative thoughts. Like, don't say I'm never going to eat this again. Say, oh, I ate some food that didn't make me feel very good. I'm going to log that in my brain. So maybe next time I'll remember like how bad this food makes me feel. Or maybe I won't. I might just do it again, and that's totally okay too. Like you're okay. You guys are all exactly where you need to be. You're all doing, yes, it's about, so it's about energy. This is Talia. Thank you for bringing this up. It's not what you eat. It's the way that you eat it. So if you eat pizza and then you destroy yourself for it and you go like, oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? I feel horrible. I'm never gonna heal. I'm never gonna lose weight. Like, I'm never gonna do this again. I'm a bad person. Well, then you took the pizza and now you just amplified the negative effects of it by 100. If you eat the pizza and you went like, wow, that was really good pizza. I'm not going to eat that again soon because it makes me feel really dense and kind of heavy. It doesn't make my digestion feel good, but it was really fun to just sit around with my family and be free. To be free of food, to be free of the rules, and to just be in the moment and enjoy it. Now, obviously, if you have an anaphylactic reaction to something or you get a really bad symptom flare from something, you can't do that. But if you don't, just, and oftentimes we can't stop ourselves from eating these things because it's not about willpower. It's really about the energy behind what you're doing and what you're eating. Eating to suppress anger or anxiety. Yes, because we don't want to feel all that heavy stuff that's under there. Yes, having a hard time looking in the mirror. That is, mirror work. I'm coming to this, but since this came up now, mirror work is so powerful. Do you guys know about mirror work? Just raise your hand if it's a yes. Okay, Louise Hay is sort of one of the old school mirror work people. And she works with affirmations, right? Louise Hay's big thing in affirmations. So you look in the mirror and you say, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I love myself, I deserve to be happy, I deserve to feel good, say all the things, right? And you look yourself right in the eyes. So you are coaching yourself through the process. Sister Shanti, if you follow her on Instagram, it's SHANTI. She has a phenomenal course on mirror work. I have not done it. I don't feel like it's something I need to do, but it's stuff I kind of do. Like, get in front of the mirror and dance. Watch how your body moves. Start to love the different parts of it. Start to get comfortable being in your own presence. Because sometimes, like I told you, right? Like I had this shell. I was in this shell. And it was so painful. And you have to start to break out of that shell one little piece at a time. And a really safe way to do that is mirror work by yourself when you're alone and just starting to like get back into your own body here. Let's see what other, your comments are amazing. I love you all so much. For me, a feeling of laziness, but too tired to eat clean because I'm doing everything for everyone else. So here's another piece of it. If eating clean exhausts you because you have so many responsibilities on that particular day, also not helping you heal because you're just in adrenaline, right? Like, so for me, rest in this previous week was more important than super clean eating. So we can't put super clean eating diet at the top. The only thing that is at the top and that is the most important is your energy. So when you can stop judging yourself, when you can stop putting all this pressure on yourself, when you can let go of perfectionism and just be like, what does my body need right now? It needs to rest. So I'm going to order takeout. That's the best thing for you in that moment. It's not to go in your kitchen and try and create a meal or force yourself to drink a raw smoothie when all you want to do is eat some grounding avocado. Like, the best thing for you is keeping your energy in its highest space. Yes, self-love. Lack of self-love is the big shadow work. There's the Sister Shanti. Wine is a big part of the social scene. Let's see. This is from Molly. I know wine is bad for me and not helping me heal. I try to only drink once or twice a week, but I don't know why I can't just enjoy the company without drinking wine or drinking too much. Why is it so hard to say no? I feel like you're missing out. Oh, last night, guys, I went out and I ordered a seltzer at girls' night, and everybody was like, "What are you doing?" And like the waiter was like, come on, let me just get you a Chardonnay. Or maybe you're a Sauvignon Blanc girl. And I was like, nah, guys, like, I'm teaching this workshop tomorrow. Like, I need to be clean. However, 2 weeks ago, I was hanging out with people that just drink all the time. And I don't know, this is what they do. And I found myself drinking with them. And it took me days to recover, like 4 days at least. So it reminded me like, oh, it's not worth it. Like for me right here and right now, it's not worth it. Am I never going to drink again? No, I'm sure I will drink again, but it's coming to the point where my vibration is so high that alcohol doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't make me more social. It doesn't make me different. It just makes me feel kind of icky and then like hungover for like 2 days if I have 2 drinks. So don't try to give up alcohol. If you want to go have a couple drinks once a week with your friends and that feels like really, really good to you, then just do it. If it gets to the point where you're like, man, I don't like this anymore, like this just doesn't really feel good, then try going and not drinking. That's a hard thing to do, but you can do it. I've learned to do that. Some of the biggest things I've learned was like going to my brother's birthday party where everybody was boozing it up. And I used to booze it up with them and not drinking. And then watching myself and realizing I was eating all the crappy food as a way, like cheese balls, like really crappy food, like not even like worth it. And I was eating all the food to numb my social anxiety, to give me something to do, something to put in my mouth. And I didn't even realize I was eating out of social anxiety too. So sometimes if you can gut it out and put yourself through that situation, you'll learn a lot about yourself too. And if you're not in a space where you're ready to like move through that level of it, then you don't have to. I think like these dogmas that to be a spiritual person, you have to be 100% sober. To be a spiritual person, you have to be vegan. To be a spiritual person, you have to, be anti certain things. Like there's no rules, there's no labels, there's no perfectionism. Like what puts you in your highest vibration right here and now? Doesn't matter what anybody else says, doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's really about becoming sovereign in what your body and your mind are telling you that you need right here and right now, and what you want. And so don't feel bad if you're going out and drinking. Just watch yourself. Ask questions. Why am I drinking? Why is it so hard for me to not drink around these people? Why? I mean, with any substance that's mind altering like that, once you open the door, it's hard to close it again, right? It's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to have one drink, and then you have 3 or 4. That's easy, but and again, like that's not a bad thing. Every experience we have is a moment of learning. Why did I go off the rails when I went to visit those people who drink a lot? I kind of got swept up in their energy and like, I don't know. I was just in this like, fuck it, this is what I'm doing today. And I'm not mad at myself for it. I definitely was like, oh my God, this 4-day detox is like really brutal. But then it made me not drink last night. So there is no like, there's no end. There's no like, when I finally get to this point, I'll be happy and everything will be good. This point does not exist. It is an illusion. We are constantly in flow. We're in the ocean. We're in the waves. So like the idea that you can find a fixed point and stay there, you're going to exhaust yourself to death if you try to fight the ocean waves, right? You got to flow with them. You have to. And so some days that means you're riding high and you're on your surfboard and like you're doing cool moves. And then other days you're just getting pounded into the sand and you just have, and again, you can't fight that either. You're just like, oh, my face is in the sand. I just have to like roll until this wave goes away and I can like jump up and catch my breath again. So just roll with it. Like, the questions, why is it hard to say no? And why do you feel like you're missing out? Why do you feel like you're missing out? That's a really good question to write in your journal. Why do I feel like I'm missing out if I don't drink or if I don't go? And you ask yourself if your energy is aligned in those spaces. Like I went out for this girls' night last night and like, I didn't really have a good time. I was like, this energy, there's a lot of complaining going on here. There's a lot of strange, I was like, damn, I'm really becoming a hermit in my room behind my camera. So am I going to go do that again? I'm not going to jump to do that, but maybe I want to do it once a month, not once a week. So there's no right or wrong. Get out of the black and white and start living in the gray, because that's all that it is. I think we got the sister Shanti as the mirror work person. Yeah, perfection is very adrenalizing, because perfection, okay, here's the poster. It's poster time, ladies. All right. If you haven't seen this yet, you're going to be in for a treat. Okay, so this is the vibrational scale of consciousness. And if you don't know about 3D, 4D, 5D, this is a very simple way to explain it. 3D emotions are very fearful, negative. They are shame, guilt, hopelessness, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. This is where we've been taught to live, in scarcity, in fear of lack, and having to follow everyone else's rules, and not being on our own sovereignty, and thinking that we are our bodies, we are our resumes, we are our homes, we are the number in our bank account. This is 3D. We are being asked to rapidly ascend out of the 3D world, and it's very painful, because the way you enter into the 4D consciousness, which is understanding that your mind has a tremendous amount of power in your life experience. Okay, so now we understand that changing a thought changes one thought at a time, starts to change our belief systems. And as our belief systems change, then our life starts to change. So this is the 4D and you enter this through humility and accountability. Like, shit, I've been doing this wrong for years. I've been living life the wrong way. And that's totally okay. I've been judging myself. I've been criticizing myself. I've been too focused on a partner making me happy. I've been too focused on some external thing making me happy or validating me. So, and then we have the courage to be like, well, that's okay. Nobody gave me these tools. Nobody taught me about the consciousness. Nobody taught me about being a spirit in human form. And you move through all these like emotions where you get to like the understanding and the acceptance that the way things are exactly the way they need to be. That drinking too much sometimes is okay. Not drinking other times and feeling like you don't mix in with the vibe is okay. Like being 10 pounds heavier 10 pounds later, or 50 or 100 pounds heavier is okay. Like it just for me, going through sexual trauma at a young age, that holds no emotion for me. I have no anger. I have no sadness. I have no grief. I have no resentment. I have no like sexual issues from it. I'm completely healed of that. It holds no power over me because I've worked through this scale. This might sound insane to you, but I have nothing but gratitude for my life experience. I have nothing but gratitude for that moment I sat in the parking lot and shoved that McDonald's burger in my face. Like I have nothing but gratitude for all those experiences. They're not bad. There's no mistakes in life. You've never made a mistake in your life. You've only made choices from the very limited amount of information that you've been given about how the world works. We've been taught wrong. Nobody gave us the tools. And it's up to us to come back into our own sovereignty and say, fuck all the shitty rules that you gave me. I'm really sorry now. But fuck all the rules that don't serve me. Like, bye, I'm out. I don't need to diet. I don't need to eat perfectly. I don't need to be completely chemical free. I don't need to do anything but feel really good every single day and do what makes me feel really good. That's all. You have to focus on feeling good. You have to come up into these higher vibration emotions, because when you do, right? So when we get into the fourth dimension, we start to get relief. We start to feel more empowered. We start to understand that we can do whatever it is that we want. We can have gratitude even in really crappy situations. And then the next step is moving into the 5D, which is the quantum field, where we really understand that we are not our bodies. We are multidimensional beings. We are spirits having a human experience. And so what happens in this lifetime Doesn't really matter. It's like a blip on the radar. You're an ant. You're a fruit fly. You're just a fruit fly, right? Like would the fruit fly who lives for like 2 weeks or whatever, 10 days or whatever, however long they live, like would they waste their time thinking about all of this judgment and perfection and trying to like make their bodies into something? No, because they're going to be dead. They don't think at all, right? And so eventually we're going to leave this body. We're not taking it with us. And so we don't need to create all this pressure on it being a certain way. We need to focus on, how do I start to live in the 5D? How do I start to live in love, joy, freedom, enlightenment, regardless of my circumstances? Christopher lived in enlightenment, guys. He was the most high vibrational being I've ever met in my freaking life. And he was confined to a wheelchair and he couldn't eat, he couldn't feed himself. He held the most powerful vibration of any human being I've ever freaking met. So if he can do that, you can do that, because you've got a lot more freedom and a lot more choices. Freedom and choices make it harder. They make it harder, but you can do that. And so one of the things I do when I ask myself what am I feeling? I'll look to this chart. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling hopelessness. And then you go a step deeper and you ask yourself, why? So my loneliness is my most recent big emotion I worked through. Why was I feeling lonely? Well, because I went through a divorce. So why was I constantly trying to suppress that feeling of loneliness by being distracted, by filling up my calendar, by trying to go on dates? Why was I trying to suppress this loneliness? I had shame around loneliness. I didn't want anyone to know that I was lonely. I didn't care if you knew I got divorced, but I had shame around being lonely. I had this idea that I had to pretend that I was super independent. I've always had this, and that I didn't need anyone else. But underneath that was loneliness. And so then when I was like, okay, I don't have to be ashamed of being lonely. Like if I said to any one of you, I got divorced and I live alone now and I feel lonely, you'd be like, of course you feel lonely, honey. And you'd like give me a big hug. But I wasn't doing that. I was denying that part of myself. I was beating myself up for feeling lonely. Sounds ridiculous, right? So work yourself through that process. When I finally was like, okay, I'm lonely, and I sat in it and I let myself feel it. And I went into that loneliness and I was like, oh, feels horrible. I was done with it in 20 minutes. And I was like, what? Why was I fighting that for months on end? Like, just be in that emotion. Let it move through you. Be angry at yourself. Why am I so angry? Allow yourself to work with these emotions because they are here to teach us. And when we constantly suppress them, we're really robbing ourselves of the process of moving up that path, right? So rather than moving up that scale of consciousness into higher emotions, we get trapped and we just stuff it and we stay in the 3D. We stay in the shame about our own experience. So, okay, let's go back to these questions here. Yeah, drinking, because and if drinking doesn't make you feel bad right now, then you don't have to stop drinking. Like, I don't know. Is it drinking a good thing? No. It's like, I don't know. We're all doing a lot of things that are not good things, but it's fine. It's part of the human experience. Like, Molly's freeing herself. She's swearing with me. I love it. Yes. Okay. So, all right. So I spit a lot of the tools, but starting with the self-observation and why we're denying these feelings. That's called shadow work. So me being like, all right, I'm lonely. I don't want to feel lonely. I am denying my loneliness. I have shame around loneliness. That makes me feel like I'm not a good enough person. And then I'll ask myself, where does this loneliness come from? Why am I carrying loneliness? When's the first time I remember feeling lonely? And so for me, that loneliness started, middle school. And it just sort of got worse and worse and worse into my 20s until in my late 20s, I was like devastatingly lonely. And I think part of my loneliness was around denying my own true needs and continuously denying that loneliness and pretending that it wasn't there. That's why it got worse and worse, and thinking that the only cure for loneliness was a relationship or a marriage, right? And something external of us is never the solution to our inner wounds. And so, for me, loneliness, I think, came through a disconnect with parents. Like, that was for sure where not receiving enough love and not feeling connected enough within my family unit. That's where loneliness started for me. And I know that my father was very lonely in his marriage. And so I probably absorbed some of that from him. I learned that that's how we operate. We're lonely in our core and we don't tell anyone. We pretend it's not there. So it takes a long time to get to the depths of that, right? But or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it'll just hit you and you'll know. And so then what do I do with that loneliness? Then I just say it's okay to be lonely, and I feel it and I move through it and I journal on it and I watch the loneliness pop up from time to time, and I just go like, it's totally okay to be lonely. And sometimes I'm going to want to make a lot of plans so that I don't feel lonely. And sometimes I'm just going to want to stay home and see what happens. If I stay home alone, I don't make any plans, and I don't start texting everyone or getting in my Instagram and responding to all the messages. Like, what if I really just turn everything off and I'm home alone and I cut out all the noise and see how much loneliness is left in there? And did I do that this weekend? No, I made a lot of plans this weekend. It's springtime. I want to be out and doing stuff, but there may come, or we'll get forced, or all the plans will get canceled last minute, and then your phone will die and you will be alone. And the universe will be like, I've been telling you, I've been trying to tell you, you need to work on this, and you keep avoiding it and you keep avoiding it. So now here it is. And you're like, no, I don't want this. So the more we resist the lessons that are trying to come through to us, and the more we stuff them down, the more we avoid them, and then sometimes the harder they will hit us. However, there's nothing wrong with waiting until you're ready. I was not ready to heal my repressed sexual trauma until I was 34 years old. 35. I don't know what it was. 34. 35. I was 35. This was 3 years ago. I wasn't ready yet. And so I needed food to hold me until I was ready. Does that make sense, guys? I was not ready. There was no way that I could have handled processing that before the exact time that memory went. And you go like, no, I don't want this. Why? I don't want this coming into my reality. But so I needed the food. I needed the body weight. I needed to hold on to all that baggage until it was time to let it go and set it free. So there's no thing like, oh, why didn't you heal that 10 years ago? Like, no, it wasn't time. If we got everything that we have to heal at once, it's the same with the physical toxins. If you try to blast out all those toxins out of your body too quickly, you're going to get sick. You could die. It's why people go into like psychosis. There's too much at once. It's too intense. So we have to understand that we have all the time in the world. We have all the time in this lifetime to work through this stuff. And there is no finish line. And the more we surrender into the present moment and accept our circumstances as they are, the more we get out of resistance. Resistance is fear. Resistance is fear. Because when we're in resistance, we feel like we have control. Things should be a different way. It's not supposed to be like this. And so resistance is down here. And so you're never going to move up if you continue to stay in resistance. When you go, I surrender. I have the courage to know that this is where I'm meant to be. I trust. I'm optimistic that this is going to get better, and I'm willing to work through my own stuff. I accept my circumstances. Now you're in higher vibrations and you're on your way to enlightenment. And then that's when you get synchronicities and miracles, and the partner of your dreams shows up, and money shows up in your bank account. And it's because you created the vibrational frequency within yourself first. And then all those external things that you want, all that weight you want to lose, comes up and matches it. You don't get all the outside things and then you're happy. It doesn't work that way. You have to find that happiness, joy. You have to live in those high vibration emotions first. And then all the things you want and desire come with. And that's not easy. That's not easy. It takes a lot of work. So this is the compassionately self-observe, step number 1. Figure out what's underneath there. Step number 2, you get into your shadow work. Do the journaling. What are the underlying emotions? Where do they come from? When's the first time you felt that emotion? Who modeled that for you in your life? And sometimes you don't know what it is because you're not ready or because you just don't need to know. And then you practice attunement, which is the idea of accepting the self as you are with your shadow. You will always have a shadow. I will always have a shadow. I will always be working with it. I'll always be integrating pieces of it. So letting go of how things should be and accepting yourself right as you are right here and right now in this moment. That's so powerful. And then you surrender it up. You go like, all right, I have this loneliness. I have this anger. I don't want this in my life. And you go right here. And you talk to your higher power and you say, please help me. I want to let go of this. I want to feel free in my body. I want to have sovereignty. I want freedom from codependency. I want to release this shame I'm carrying. I don't want to be angry anymore. Help me. Help me where I can't help myself. Show me the way. Guide me to teachers. Show me books, podcasts, workshops. Send me the money so that I can work with this person that I know is meant to be my next teacher. Guide me in my dreams. Guide me through my journaling to help me release this. Take me to energy healing techniques. Right? Like you just open the door and you'd be like, okay, help me. I'm ready to receive help. Well, you have to ask for help because the universe abides by the law of free will. And so if you don't ask for help, they cannot intervene on your behalf. And then you put your energy, your vibration first, always. What makes you feel better? Cooking a giant vegan meal or resting and ordering takeout? What does your body need? Not what does your brain say is the best thing for you. What does your body need right here and right now? Do you need connection with your friends and you're not in a space where you can do that without drinking alcohol, but you just really need to be with your friends? Then go do it and have a glass of wine or 2. It's totally fine. Are you ready to say, no, I don't want that anymore. I'm going to stay home and I'm going to feel I'm ready to do that. Then you do that. And there's no right or wrong. The universe is going to work with whatever choices you make because that's why we are given free will. So put your vibration first because most of us are incredibly disassociated from our bodies and from our own vibration because everybody else has come first. Especially as women, we have been taught to people please. We have been taught to sacrifice. We have been taught to put everyone else first, to give until we're completely depleted. So you've got to start creating boundaries and making more difficult situations that say like, you know what? I've outgrown this friendship. This feels draining to me now. This person just calls me and complains all the time and it doesn't feel good anymore. So I'm going to start to put some boundaries on the amount of time I spend with this person or the amount of time I spend on the phone with them. These are, I don't have a book for shadow work. I know Lisa, who's on the call, has a workbook she's doing that I think she likes, but I have not. Shadow work has just been an organic process for me. And it partly because I've been doing the self-observation for so long that I can just watch the emotions come up. Am I perfect at it? No, there's still lots of things I need to heal, right? Like I'm by no means a perfect human. It's just sort of happened for me organically. The essential oils have been so powerful. When I get real triggered in an emotion, my process is to feel it, journal on it, ask questions about it, ask where it goes deeper. My intuition comes in very clearly through journaling for me. And then I use oils to help release them. And I just keep working through that repeatedly until that process moves away. The dark side of light chasers. Oh, love that name. That's super cool. So yeah, look for books if you feel like that. Oh, the holistic psychologist. I just ordered her book. Like, she's amazing. Like, she's fantastic. So I don't know how much is on shadow work in that book, but yes, her Instagram is off the charts. Definitely follow her on Instagram. So and then another really powerful step is embodiment practices. So next month, I do a workshop every month. Next month is going to be a body, love, and self-compassion soul flow. And that is an embodiment workshop that moves you through the density that's in your body without having to think about it or work through it consciously. It works through the subconscious and releases. And it's a form of free movement. Which could be like dancing, or it could just be like sitting on your mat and kind of swaying. Like it's whatever you need from soul flow, but that's what I'll be doing next month to kind of take this further. And then you can like soul flow yourself. You can also get trained in soul flow. There's lots of things. So embodiment practices are about coming back home into the body and feeling safe in your own body, feeling safe in the present moment. And so if there's a lot of density being held in the body and it doesn't feel safe to come home into your body, then that's a space to start to work with, beginning to clear some of that out. And again, just watching it, like, wow, I don't feel safe fully being in my body. Like, I constantly want a distraction of the TV on, or a podcast playing, or eating, or scrolling on my phone, or alcohol, or whatever it is, right? I constantly crave this distraction. So just allow yourself to like, oh, let me dip a toe into what's in there. Okay, now let me put my foot. Now let's put 2 feet. Now we can go ankle deep. Now we can go knee deep. And you just gradually work your way in, right? If you don't know how to swim, I don't recommend that you just run into the ocean. You've got to start to learn about these waves and work with them, right? When you first into the ocean, you're like, okay, I'm comfortable at my knees. I'm comfortable at my hips. All right, now I can go deeper than where I can touch. Now I understand how these waves of energy come through the universe. I can work with them. I can flow with them. So you just take it one step at a time. So we become dissociated because it's too painful to access ourselves. It's too painful to be in the moment. And part of what happens too is we lose our body intuition. We lose our hunger and fullness cues. We lose what satisfaction feels like. We start to lose all these things. So one thing, let me grab this book. One thing that can help if you feel like you've lost your connection to what your body needs in terms of food is a book like this, Intuitive Eating Workbook. This is really powerful for just being like, oh, what does my body feel like when it's hungry? What does my body feel like when it's full? What does my body feel like when it's tired? Like a lot of us have lost so much of that. And so this can help you. And this does talk about like the range of emotions too that your body can feel. So this is really powerful if you're doing this with food. Any intuitive eating stuff is good. Like everything, I don't agree with 100% of what I read in these books, but there's big nuggets that you can take from them. Let's see. Also, I would encourage you to throw out your scale, like literally throw it in the garbage, or at least hide it from yourself, because anything that's an external validator for you, like the number on the scale, is going to cloud you from your own intuition, right? So like let's say you're doing all the scale always screws you up. You're doing all this really good work. You're eating really healthy. You're feeling really good. You're feeling lighter. And then you get on the scale and the number hasn't changed. And then you're like, oh, I do all this work. Nothing's happening. It's not even working. Get off the scale. Or you're kind of like, you're eating, you're doing good, you see the scale coming down, and then you're like, oh, now there's actually some more wiggle room in there. I don't have to eat that healthy. I can like, oh, now there's room for like a treat or a sneak in there, right? Okay. Like the scale is never helping you. You've got to come back to how you feel, what feels nourishing to you. Like that's the key thing. So yeah, ditch that scale big time. Yes. So, and then, you know, the body will shift as your energy shifts. It will come into a space of homeostasis with your current emotional state. So, does this mean that people who are carrying more weight are not at as high of a vibration as someone who's carrying less weight? No, it doesn't mean that at all. You can be at a super high vibration and be carrying extra weight. It's just the way your body is manifesting, physically manifesting the imbalances that we have. And everyone's going to manifest those imbalances in different ways. Some people will have trouble maintaining their weight. Some people will get an autoimmune condition. Some people will get psoriasis, right? It's just a different manifestation of unbalanced energy in the body. So your weight is in no way, shape, or form of a product of your vibration at all. I had someone reach out to me recently who was like, I want to work with you. Like, what's my next step? And I said, come to this workshop. And she shared the story that she went to some spiritual teacher event, and the man told her she needed to lose weight to access her gifts or whatever it was. And I like wanted to throw my computer out the window when I read that. And I wrote her back and I was like, you do not need to lose a single ounce of weight to step into your healing gifts, to start changing the world, to access your intuition at a greater capacity. Like, that is just complete and total bullshit. Like, if I knew who that guy was, I would write him an angry letter on her behalf. Like, no, you are perfect exactly the way you are. You are exactly where you are meant to be. And so start to embrace that. So here's where my next book comes in. This is a book called The Hidden Messages in Water. When we start to think positive things about ourselves and we start to believe them and we start to talk to ourselves in a really loving way all the time, we change the energy in our body. And this is a really powerful, visualization of that. So this is from a researcher in Japan named Emoto, and they would take these vials of water and they would speak to the water, they would write things on them and tape it to the water, they would play music, and the water would form different crystals. So here's the water. I'm trying to get this ring light to not. Okay, so this is like classical music, right? We get a beautiful snowflake. This is heavy metal music, totally distorted. Okay. Let me find another good one. So here's water, here's crystals. When children said you're beautiful a couple times to the water, when children said you're beautiful a bunch of times to the water, and here's the crystals when the water was ignored. Isn't that crazy? So you can see how everything around us is responding to our energy and the subtleties of it. Okay, here's let's do it, let us, implying we, and here's do it, like yelling at you to do something, right? So just the little subtleties in our language are going to change our vibration dramatically. We are 70% water. Imagine if you start talking to the water in your body in a way that would form beautiful crystals as opposed to these distorted things. Imagine how your body will start to change. And this is why affirmations, mirror work, self-love is all so important and powerful, and how when we attack our bodies, I have to fix this, I have to get rid of this is wrong with me, this is a problem, we're gonna, that's not helping you heal. When you lovingly say, I really desire to release the symptoms, please help me, I love my body, I know it's fighting for me every day, it's working for me, my body is magnificent and powerful, it has carried me through so many journeys in life. When you just start to shift into that gratitude and that release, you already started to change your body chemistry.
Maybe you should run through the car wash unless it's going to be bad this week. Is it going to be?
Oops. So, yeah, so that's a huge piece of it too, is just like, don't beat yourself up. Like literally, if you're going to decide anything, decide not to beat yourself up. All right, so we have about 10 minutes left. Do you guys have more questions, or shall I guide you through a quick meditation to anchor this in? I feel like we should anchor it in. Yeah? Okay. We'll do 10-minute meditation to anchor this in. Remembering, oh yeah, because here we go, because Raphael told us to make sure we're meditating, and Isis, the goddess of magic, right? Start connecting with these goddesses, man. You all have this goddess energy within you. Like you are, you know, sex magic, like pleasure, prayer. You got this. Like you guys all hold this goddess energy within you. And so start to like, you're like, oh yeah, that's me. I can do that. I'm hosting a retreat in September, and I have a photographer coming, and I'm thinking about doing like a goddess photo shoot for each woman that comes, because there's such a power in seeing yourself in that way, and seeing, just dressing yourself up and like wearing crystals and like just like there's such a power in viewing yourself as a goddess. Like, so anyway, I'm toying with that. So Isis is clearly giving me the message, like, yes, get them dressed up in their goddess power. So, okay. So let's do a quick meditation. So close your eyes and take a deep breath. And again, we are anchoring and sending our grounding cord down to the center of Mother Earth, wrapping around the Earth Star chakra. Feeling the major shifts in our energy fields that we just accomplished in the last 2 hours. Feeling all that empowerment, all that freedom from letting go. We let go of so many false beliefs, so much programming. We let go of so much ego trap of being stuck in the logic and trying to choose between right and wrong. We have realized that there is no right and wrong. There's only the flow, the waves of energy coming through. And our job is to harmoniously swim in those waves, to flow, to float, to enjoy the beauty of our world, understanding its power and its danger, but more deeply understanding that we possess our own power and our own sovereignty, and that we are exactly where we are meant to be right in this moment, exactly where we're meant to be energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, knowing we are on our path, clearly seeing our future, but releasing the need to control the steps that get us there. Seeing what it is that we want and desire, but releasing the how to the universe, surrendering that up. Breathing in this love for our bodies. Breathing in the divine energy of the goddesses, of Isis, who is here to support us in coming back home, in embodying more of our higher self, and creating space to hold more light in our vessels, loving ourselves more deeply. And then I want you ladies to repeat a couple of these affirmations after me. I love and accept myself. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. I love and accept myself right here and right now. I love and accept myself even when I feel scared. I love and accept myself even when I feel angry. I love and accept myself even when I feel lonely or disconnected. I love and accept myself even when I feel fearful. I love and accept myself even when I don't love and accept myself. I love and accept myself even when I don't love and accept myself. I love and accept myself even when I don't love and accept myself. And just breathe that statement in a few more times. And I'll ask that any density that we release during this healing workshop will continue to be released at just the right pace, that we may safely create more space for more of our souls to reside in our body, for more light energy to reside in our body, for more sovereignty, for more empowerment, for more self-love. And I'll ask that we each be guided to exactly what it is we need that will support us on our healing journeys. And I'll ask that we are each given patience, deeper levels of self-compassion, and more freedom to experience our own emotions and to experience our own human condition with love and acceptance. And breathing in deeply one more time. Bringing a smile to your face as you begin to come back to your body, wiggling fingers and toes. And opening your eyes back to the group, back to the room. All right, how do you guys feel? Yes, goddess photo shoot. There'll be lots more retreats if you can't make it to this one. Don't worry. All in divine timing. All in divine timing. Feeling amazing. Yay. More centered. We have women of all ages from all over the world on this call. Some of you I know and some of you I don't. You feel wonderful. I feel so good. I'm always so high on life after these calls, and then I'm like, oh, I need a nap. Sometimes I'm high on life for like 3 days, and I'm like, wow, we really shifted some energy. More grounded. Yeah, and you know, guys, this is just like my story. You have your own story, and you have your own methods of healing you'll be guided to. I always try to keep it real and remind you that I'm not any different than you. I don't have any magical superpowers. I'm not especially gifted through my intuition. This is stuff that lives in all of us. And so my mission is just to wake this up for you guys and bring you back home and just be an inspiration. But there's no hierarchy in spirituality. So if anybody makes you feel like they know more than you, or they are further along their path, or they hold some secret that you don't get, like, don't fall for that. And if you guys feel called to do work like this, or to become a healer in your own way, in your own capacity, I'm also moving into a space where I am being called to guide people into healing work like I do. My calling is becoming healing the healers. teaching the teachers kind of thing. And so there'll be lots more coming from me on that. If you have a story and you want to share it and you want to help people, you totally deserve to do that. All of you are such magnificent, powerful women, and you can massively shift energy like this for people too. And you don't have to be fully healed to start doing that. I was not fully healed when I started this business. I am not fully healed right now. I don't know when I'll ever be fully healed. But it's just being on the journey, and you only have to be one little itty bitty step ahead of the people that need you. There's so many women who need this work, guys. And like, that number is only going to, the number who are ready for this work is only going to continue to grow. So yeah, so stay tuned if you are looking for a mentor in that arena as well. All right, that will wrap it up. I love you guys so much. You're amazing, powerful goddesses. And if you're not a part of my Facebook group, join and share your experiences in there. Like, I forget what I recommended you put in there earlier, but that's a space to just ask for support and share your story, and you get any kind of support in any arena of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. So definitely jump in that group for free support there. It's an amazing group of women in there, and I try to respond to every post as much as I can. So all right, send you guys all love. Such an amazing workshop. Thank you, thank you, thank you for allowing me to guide you and for showing up for this and dedicating your time and energy. I'm so proud and amazed by all of you. So have a wonderful rest of your weekend.